A new experimental card just dropped on Overwatch with tons of new changes to almost every single new hero. These changes were suggested by content creators like Violet, Flats, and some Jew. These experimental card changes were made for the Experimental Card Creator Cup. First up, we have Diva. Pilot Diva quick melee damage increased from 30 to 100 damage. Defense matrix size increased by 10%. Boosters duration increased from 2 to 4 seconds. Speed increased by 25%. Eject. Ejecting out of the mag now ejects you at 15 meters per second up and 10 meters per second in the direction you're holding.
Nerf this! Epic!
Orisa. Health changed from 200 health and 250 armor to 1 health and 399 armor. Now wears a Christmas hat. Protective barrier. Health reduced from 600 to 300. Cooldown reduced from 10 to 8 seconds. Fusion driver no longer slowed while firing. Duration increased from 4 to 6 seconds. Can now be headshot while using Fortify. Hold. Cooldown reduced from 6 to 4 seconds. Reinhardt. Armor health increased from 200 to 225. Total health 225 now. Barrier field. Health increased from 1600 to 2000. Fire strike. Damage reduced from 100 to 80. Now has 2 charges. Projectile speed increased by 100%. Earth Shatter. Knockdown duration increased from 2.5 to 3 seconds. Now deals 400 damage in a 1.5 meter radius around the impact point, where the hammer actually hits the ground. Blocking an enemy Earth Shatter now plays the voice line, "You shame yourself!" Blocking an enemy Earth Shatter now shows up in the kill feed using Ryan's shield icon. Steadfast. Knockback resistance increased from 30% to 40%. Charge can now be ended early by pressing the charge key a second time. Roadhog. Maximum health reduced from 600 to 500. Scrap cannon pellet damage reduced from 6.6 to 5. Chain hook. Impact damage increased from 30 to 70. Cooldown reduced from 8 to 6. Take a breather. Healing reduced from 300 to 250. Whole hog. Now lifts Roadhog while using it if he is pointed downward. Sigma. Health increased from 300 to 400. 500 in total. Sigma is now able to hold jump while airborne to slow his descent. Experimental Barrier. This ability is now disabled. It is experimental after all. Aggression. Impact damage increased from 30 to 40. Explosion damage increased from 40 to 50. Now susceptible to reflect deflect abilities such as Defense Matrix. Sigma now uses his "yes" voice line after every use.
Certainly. Wholly predictable.
Kinetic Grasp. Cooldown reduced from 12 to 8 seconds. Now increases Sigma's movement speed by 100% while active. Winston. Knockback effects are now 30% less effective against Winston. Winston deals 100% more damage to deployable objects, barriers, turrets, etc. Jump Pack. Now deals up to 100 damage to enemies within 4 meters of the launch location. Travel speed increased by 30%. Primal Rage. Health bonus increased from 500 to 1000. Wrecking Ball. Grappling Claw. Max duration is now 3.5 seconds. Roll. Jump height increased by 100%. Full speed impact damage on conclusion reduced from 50 to 40. Can now change directions a lot more quickly and easily. Pile Driver. Minimum damage reduced from 20 to 15. Maximum damage reduced from 100 to 80. Cooldown reduced from 10 to 8 seconds. Can now be used from a slightly lower height. Adaptive Shield. Shields granted per target reduced from 75 to 50. Duration increased from 9 to 12 seconds. Cooldown reduced from 15 to 12 seconds. Zarya. Particle Cannon Primary Fire. Primary Fire minimum damage increased from 75 to 85 damage per second. Particle Cannon Secondary Fire. Alt Fire Explosion no longer hurts yourself. Alt Fire Knockback increased by 150%. Particle Barrier. Health increased from 200 to 250. Size increased by 50%. Protected Barrier. Health increased from 200 to 250. Size increased by 50%.
Barriers on you.
Ash. Coach Gun now has 2 charges. Dynamite. Cooldown increased from 12 to 14 seconds. The Viper. Hipfire recovery reduced from 0.25 to 0.22 seconds. Take Aim. Aim downside movement permanently reduced from 30% to 10%. Cassidy. Peacekeeper Secondary Fire. Damage increased from 50 to 55. Combat Roll. Now usable while airborne. Flashbang. Cooldown increased from 10 to 12 seconds. Deadeye. Now spawns more tumbleweeds. Mind the thorns.
It's high noon.
Triple kill.
Bastion. Configuration Recon. Bullet spread reduced by 15%. Configuration Tank. Now grants 100 bonus armor. Doomfist. Health reduced from 250 to 225. The best defense. Passive. Shields gained through normal abilities increased from 30 to 40. Meteor Strike. Landing time after confirmation reduced from 1 to 0.5 seconds. Genji. Cyber Agility. Wall climbing speed increased by 50%. Wall climbing now refunds double jumps availability. Shuriken. Recovery reduced from 0.68 seconds to 0.6 seconds. Hanzo. Storm Arrows. Now ricochet off surfaces up to 5 times. Lunge. Cooldown reduced from 5 to 3 seconds. Junkrat. Total Mayhem. Grenade count increased by 100% and grenades drop in a 30% wider area. Frag Launcher. Impact damage reduced from 40 to 30. Minimum explosion damage reduced from 10 to 8. Concussion Mine. Maximum damage increased from 120 to 125. Minimum damage reduced from 30 to 25. Vara. Hover jets holding crouch while airborne increases falling speed. Concussion Blast, cooldown reduced from 9 to 8 seconds. Jump Jet, cooldown reduced from 9 to 8 seconds. Reaper. Shadow Stab, movement speed increased by 40% for 6 seconds after ending. Hellfire Shotguns. Pellet spread reduced by 15%. Soldier 76. Sprint. Automatically reloads heavy pulse rifle after 3 seconds of continuous use. Tactical Visor now increases heavy pulse rifle damage by 10% while active. Sombra. Hack, affected targets now take 20% increased damage from all sources for 3 seconds. Cooldown increased from 8 to 12 seconds. Machine Pistol, bullet spread reduced by 10%. Symmetra. Teleporter. Teleporting now increases movement speed by 50% for 1.5 seconds. Torbjörn. Rivet Gun. Recovery time reduced from 0.6 to 0.45 seconds. Forge Hammer. Damage increased from 55 to 75. Overload. Now increases Forge Hammer damage to 125 while active.
I'm overloading!
Double kill.
Deployed Turret. Damage reduced from 14 to 11. Tracer. Recall. Now restores all blink charges. Cooldown increased from 12 to 14. Pulse Pistols. Ammo increased from 40 to 50. Widowmaker. Widow's Kiss. Automatic fire minimum damage after fall off increases from 3.9 to 5. Automatic fire maximum damage increased from 13 to 15. Infrasight. Now resets grappling hook's cooldown.
No one can hide from my sight.
Ana. Sleep Dart. Eliminating sleeping targets resets the cooldown.
It's quiet time. Oh, you look tired. Ahlan?
Nano Boost. Now applies to Ana when used without the target.
No. I cannot be stopped.
Baptiste. Biotic Launcher healing grenades now affect Baptiste as well. Regenerative Burst now damages enemies instead of healing allies.
Regen up! Have you considered a different line of work? Hello?
Exo Boost now deals 40 damage to enemies with 4 meters upon landing. Brigitte. Inspire no longer heals allies, instead triggering Inspire now reduces the cooldown of Repair Pack by 0.5 seconds. Repair Pack. Charges increased from 3 to 5.
Patching you up.
Lucio. Sound Barrier. Cost reduced by 30%. Now deals massive damage to enemies Lucio lands directly on top.
Oh, let's break it! Damn! I got all through.
Sonic Amplifier. Fire rate increased by 15% while wall riding. After 1 second of wall riding, this bonus is reduced by 50%. Mercy. Valkyrie. Killing blows extend the duration by 3 seconds.
Heroes never die. You are not looking well.
Double kill. Triple kill.
6.5 hours later. 3 weeks later.
Canoe Stuff. Healing now reduces from 55 healing per seconds to 40 healing per seconds over 2 seconds while connected. Healing returns to its normal healing per second over 2 seconds while not active. Resurrect can now be cancelled by using secondary fire while channeling, refunding 50% of its cooldown.
"12 seconds later."
Moira. Biotic Grasp. Biotic Grasp healing now consumes Moira's own health if used while out of energy. Biotic Orb. Allies that received at least 100 healing from the same Biotic Orb are cleansed of all status effects. Enemies that suffer at least 100 damage from the same Biotic Orb are slowed by 30% for 1.5 seconds. Fade now cleanses status effects from allies Moira passes through and allied players that are around her when it ends. Zenyatta. Discord Orb. Damage amplification reduced from 25% to 20%. Can now be applied to barriers, turrets, and other attackable objects. No longer reveals the position of its target through line of sight. Line of sight return time reduced from 3 seconds to 1.5 seconds. Harmony Orb. Line of sight return time reduced from 3 to 1.5 seconds. Transcendence. Total healing reduced from 1800 to 1200. Now applies Discord Orb to nearby enemies.
Experience festivity.
These are all the changes from the experimental card.
Psych!
Right as I'm editing this video, Blizzard just released a bunch of new changes to heroes that didn't get a change in the last experimental card. So here are all the new changes. Lucio. Sound Barrier now deals massive damage to enemies Lucio lands on top of within 0.75 meter radius. Reinhardt. Earth Shatter now deals 400 damage in a 1.75 meter radius around the impact point. Brigitte. Inspire no longer heals allies but still heals herself. Triggering. Inspire now reduces the cooldown of Repair Pack by 0.5 seconds. Wrecking Ball. Roll. Can now change directions less faster and quicker than before, but still more than normal. Winston. Jump Pack. Travel speed increased by 10%. Mercy. Can do stuff. Now gains 12.5% healing modifier back whenever a damage boosted target deals damage to an enemy. Resurrect. Cancelling Resurrection no longer gives half the cooldown back, but instead resets Guardian Angel. Torbjorn. Deploy turret. Turret damage 11 to 9. Symmetra. Sentry turret. Can now have up to 4 turrets. Echo. Sticky bombs. Explode instantly. Flight. Cooldown reduced from 6 to 4. Pharah. Rocket Barrage. Can now move while it is active. Mei. Cryo Freeze. Now deals 2000 damage to enemies that she lands on while falling inside. Endothermic Blaster. Gains 50% movement speed while running on ice caused by her weapon. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and make sure to give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and also make sure to subscribe because I make content all the time about Overwatch.